Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. As you might know, we will have a balance patch on the June 25th, so ArenaNet decided to show us a preview of the upcoming balance patch yesterday, so let's get into it. Let's start from the Elementalist. Okay, first of all, let's start from this Frost Aura. Reduce the chill duration from 2 seconds to 1 second in War vs World only. As you already know, if you have a Frost Aura on yourself and any enemies attack you, they will get 2 seconds of chill on them. So this chill will get nerfed and it will get to 1 second instead of 2. So on the Elementalist, the first skills here are just PvE, so I'm just going to skip them because I want War vs World only. The first War vs World change is a little buff on the skill 2. Their casting time was reduced and it was increased instead the power coefficient per strike. I doubt this is relevant in War vs World Zerg fights, but maybe for roaming it could be interesting, and also for War vs World for the dagger players. Then we have Cone of Cold, reduce the casting time from the same amount as the Drake's Breath. Also increased the base healing by like 500, which is kinda huge considering the low cooldown of this skill, which is 8 seconds. And also increased the healing coefficients from 0.6 to 0.8 in PvP and War vs World. So this is a small buff in the healing of the Elementalists, which are already great in my opinion. So this is very good to have. It's one of the many buffs Elementalists received in this patch. Then we have Frozen Burst. This skill now creates a nice field before performing its blast finisher. So the skill 3, as you already know, is a blast finisher. With this change, before doing the blast finisher, it will apply around you an ice field and you will blast this ice field, so you will provide Frost Aura to everyone around you, to 5 allies of course. So this is another important buff because you have an additional Frost Aura this way and you can heal and transmute it to remove conditions, to heal again, to apply auras, 10% incoming damage on everybody. Then we have Convergence, the skill 2 from the dagger in main hand in the air attunement. It was also increased in the power coefficient, but most importantly this skill is now a blast finisher. So this is our skill 2, 8 seconds cooldown, you pressed it and after a short delay you will blast. So this is a very important thing because as we will see in a matter of seconds, blasts are huge on Elementalist because we will run the Relic of Caracosa, which is our main healing. Okay, let me equip the legendary relic and let's take Caracosa. It's our main healing source together with the Wash the Pain Away. We will heal allies whenever we blast any field, even if it's not our field, and also there is another interesting trait later for the blast finisher. Then we have Ring of Earth, is the skill 2 in War vs World. It was buffed on the power coefficient, we don't really need it. The skill 2 from the Earth. Then the skill 3, reduce the cooldown, this is okay, because this is a combo finisher leap, and if we leap for example ice field, you will get Frost Aura on yourself, and since you get Frost Aura on yourself, you will share it with your allies, so having a lower cooldown on this skill means more auras spam. I said Frost Aura, but there is also Fire Aura, Light Aura, and many other auras, so it's just the same. Any aura you get on yourself, you will share it with your allies. Then we have these changes are for PvE, we don't really need it. Okay, these two traits are kinda useless. I know they got changed, but they're still useless. Earth's Embrace and Earth's Blast, they are also minor traits. The most important part is Diamond Skin. This trait has been reworked. Remove a condition from yourself when you successfully combo a field with a leap finisher, which is for example the skill 3 from the Earth on the dagger, which I just showed you. And then, this is the most important part, remove a condition from yourself and nearby allies when you successfully combo a field with a blast finisher. So we will have a lot of blast finisher, especially after the changes, because we have the Convergence, which is another blast finisher, and also the Frozen Burst is already a blast finisher, but it will make sure you blast something with it, because you will first generate a nice field under your feet, so you are sure to blast it. So basically this trait now becomes a condi removal AoE for your allies each time you blast. So we could maybe swap fire, because fire has an interesting trait, which is this one. Whenever we apply an aura on our allies, they will get one condition removed automatically, and also whenever we transmute any aura, for example, you see I transmute this aura, immediately I will remove 2 conditions from allies. So maybe for overall condi cleanses, the fire trait line will still be better than earth, but still on earth we will have this diamond skin, which is now, as you see, it's useless, but it will be changed, and whenever we blast finisher we will remove conditions from our allies, and in a bit I will count how many blasts we have. Also on this trait line we have this trait, which is not bad. It's the rock solid. Whenever we swap to earth, we will get a stack of stability on ourselves and also on our allies. It's not that much, but it's still something. And then, most importantly, we will get elemental shielding. Auras you grant to allies also grant protection. So we also already have invigorating torrents. Every aura we apply to allies will grant vigor and regeneration. And with this, it will also grant protection. So as you can see, permanent protection, vigor and regeneration in War vs World, because we will have a lot of auras on ourselves and on our allies. So it's very easy to keep these buffs all up all the time. So in my opinion, maybe you could go still for fire, but fire has no protection on auras, so you would be basically a support which cannot grant protection to your allies. So in my opinion, maybe if you need more condi cleanse, maybe fire is better, because each aura will provide a condition removal and each transmute 2 conditions removal, which is a lot. But still, don't underestimate the new diamond skin, because each blast is a condi cleanser. I think it will remove a condition. Okay, see, okay, yes, it says just one condition, and still you will have a lot of blast finisher. So we will have, probably I will run this skill, which is a blast finisher, and it has 2 charges. You press it, blast finisher. Okay, we have 2 blast finishers here. Then aftershock, I will run it. It's a blast finisher and also an earth aura on everybody. And then for the last skill, I will probably not run any blast finisher. I think I'd go maybe for this stun break, AoE stun break, or maybe this AoE frost aura, which we can transmute, with the skill 4 on the dagger, on the water. So I think I will run these utilities, as you can see. Wash the pain away will stay the heal, because it's the most important heal on yourself and on your allies. Arcane Brilliance is a combo finisher blast, but I don't think it's worth it, because the blast is okay, it's a bit of healing to your allies because of the relic of Caracosa, but it's not worth it, because Wash the Pain Away can heal more, much more, and it doesn't need to blast for it. And also Arcane Brilliance is a blast, and you can remove 1 condition from allies because of the new diamond skin trait, but still Wash the Pain Away will just remove 1 condition just by pressing it. You don't need relics or traits or anything else. So I think Wash the Pain Away will stay meta. Then we have Arcane Wave. It's also a CC, a small CC, but it's taken for the blast. Also the Elementalist utilities are kinda useless, so in my opinion this one could be good, because blast 1 and blast 2. Then Aftershock is another blast, so we are at 3 blasts. Then we have Frozen Burst, which is our 4th blast. We have Convergence, which will be changed, so 5th blast. Then we have Earthquake, the skill 4 from the Earth, 6th blast. Churning Earth, 7th blast. And then we have Overload Earth. At the end, this skill will blast again. And so this is like our 8th blast. So we have like 8 blasts on ourselves, maybe 7 or 8, I lost the count. So each blast will heal for a lot, you see like 1k and a half, and also it will remove 1 condition thanks to this trait. So in my opinion, this is a very good change for Elementalist. Let's get into the next traits, which will be changed. Shooting Eyes. This trait now triggers after using a healing skill instead of when critically hit, cooldown 15 seconds. Let's see it. This is our water trait, which we are not running currently, but I think I will run it after the changes. So basically we will get regeneration and frost aura on ourselves whenever we use a healing skill once every 15 seconds. So we will get a frost aura, and the frost aura can be transmuted, of course, and it will be shared with your allies. So in my opinion, maybe you can go for these Shooting Eyes instead of Stop, Drop and Roll, which will remove Burning and Chill when you dodge from your allies, and its cooldown is like 10 seconds, so it's a bit too much maybe. In my opinion, it's worth to go for the Frost Aura with the Shooting Eyes trait, I mean. Flow Like Water, this is damage, we don't really need it. And then Shooting Power, we don't run this trait, so we don't really care about it. Then other two traits which are kinda interesting are Gathered Focus and Hardy Conduit. Gathered Focus, the additional concentration from this trait no longer has a health threshold requirement, it's this one. Basically we will get for free another 60 concentration even if our health is below 90%. And also we will have Hardy Conduit. This trait now also grants protection to nearby allies. It's this one, whenever we press our overload we get protection on ourselves. With the change also our allies will get protection on them, so we will get basically perma protection also thanks to elemental shielding. The important changes for War vs World Tempest support were now over. The next changes are all for PvE. Weaver we can skip it. Engineer, everything is for PvE. We have some small War vs World changes to, for example, Elixir U, but we don't really need it. It's kinda useless. I will skip. Then the Guardian, it's the same for the Engineer, mostly PvE changes. The same goes for Mesmer, except like 2 skills from the Axes, but nobody runs Axe on Mesmer in War vs World. Virtuoso changes in PvE. Okay, we have the Necromancer, which is our next class, which is kinda important on the changes. Sword didn't quite land where we wanted in War vs World. This is ArenaNet speaking, so this update includes some improvements to its damage to make it a more viable option. So this is very interesting. The swords were promising from the beta testings, but the real numbers were just bad. The damage was useless, the strips were decent at most, so every Scourge or Reaper just kept playing their old weapons, which are Greatsword and Axe plus Focus. So now the swords were buffed. So let's start from Satiate, which is the second part of our skill 2. Your skill 2 will generate a wave in front of you on your enemies, and you can press it again to do additional damage on the enemies which were hit by the first hit. So the damage will be increased by a kinda strong amount of damage, you see, like from 0.6 to 0.9 power coefficient, so it's like a 50% damage increase or something like that. Then we have a buff to Path of Gluttony. This skill now corrupts a boon on targets it strikes. So earlier on the sword, only the second part of the skill 3 would corrupt boons on enemies, and also it's like, I think just one boon is not that good. Now, after the changes, also the first leap will remove a boon from the enemies and turn it into a condition. So you press it, this is a boon rip, you press it again and it is another boon rip, because it's already like that. The second part already removes a boon. It will not be changed in this patch. So the first part now will remove another boon, so it's an additional boon strip, which is nice. It makes sense maybe now to run a double sword, also because Gormandized increase the power coefficient from 0.6 to 1.0, which is kinda huge in War vs World only. This is the second part of your skill 4. The skill 4 is a big AoE, you press it, easy to land on your enemies, it's not a projectile. You press it again and you do additional damage on the targets you hit with the first hit. So this secondary skill now will be changed, and it will have its damage increased by more than the 50%, basically from 0.6 to 1.0, which is huge in my opinion, and also it's kinda easy to hit. And maybe now the Scourge and the Reapers will have more burst, and a secondary weapon you can run together with. This is the hard choice, because in my opinion Axe and Focus are just too good, especially on the Reaper, because the skill 5 from the Focus, especially if you manage to hit a low health person, low health enemy with 3 boons, you can really deal like 10k damage on him. I also did a short back then which showed how I can one shot with the Spinal Shiver. So in my opinion, this one, the skill 3 from the Axe, is so strong because it just doesn't need to be targeted, it's easy to land on enemies, good damage, and also a boon strip. And then the Focus skill 5 is a huge single target damage which can really help generate downies. So in my opinion, maybe you should swap out the Greatsword on the Reaper and you should go for the swords. I didn't test it, of course, the patch is not live yet, but maybe it will be worth it. And so the Greatsword is kinda slow, the skills are slow to land. The skill 4 is good, but it pulses once every 2 seconds, the pulses are kinda small, especially the first ones, and also it has a 30-second cooldown. The skill 5 is a very strong pull, but it's 25 seconds cooldown, and if the enemy has stability, you are useless with this. So in my opinion, maybe the meta for the Reaper can shift to Sword and Axe Focus, but we will see it. Then the other changes on the Necromancer are kinda useless, they are for PvE. Ranger, everything is PvE, maybe some changes, for example, on the might duration, on strength of the pack, wow. 4 seconds more in War vs World only on the might, too good. Okay, these are kinda useless, or PvE. Revenant, everything basically is unchanged, it was a small nerf on the F3 on the Renegade, but it's kinda useless, we didn't already play it. Then Thief, everything is for PvE, some Venoms were changed, we don't need this. And then on the Warrior we have some interesting changes. The first interesting change for Warriors is Inspiring Whirl. This skill now heals allies instead of granting them regeneration, is the first chain of the auto attack on the staff. The third chain now applies regeneration on allies and on yourself, but with the change it will heal, so it's good to have, because regeneration is already so frequent in War vs World, every class can give regeneration, so here we have additional heals. Then we have Banner of Tactics, reduce the casting time and also the aftercast, and the same goes for the Banner of Defense. This is nice to have, because I run both of them in my build for Spellbreaker, support Spellbreaker in War vs War. You see, it's kinda slow now, but after the changes they will be much faster. And then we have Frenzy, we don't need it. Okay, the other 2 traits which are kinda interesting are on the Tactics and the Tactics trait line, and it's mostly Shrug It Off. This trait now trigger when using a healing skill instead of when having a number of conditions on you, and it's this trait here, Shrug It Off, which maybe we can run now, because earlier it was once every 25 seconds we had a condition on ourselves, and automatically we have a Shake It Off, removing 1 condition per ally and also stun breaking. And also the secondary part is removing a damaging condition from an ally heals them. Now we will command this trait, because we can choose when we press our healing skill, so we are sure we are also removing a condition with it if we run it. This is decent to have, but maybe we will still keep running Empower Allies, I'm not sure. Then we have Martial Cadence. This trait now also recharges Soldier Focus when you swap weapons and causes Soldier's Focus to remove a condition from nearby allies. Reduce the quickness duration from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds in War vs World. This is good, I think. I don't know how the cooldown will affect this, if there is a cooldown, because as you can see we will get Soldier Focus when we swap weapons. I don't know, the cooldown is 9 seconds or 5 seconds or no cooldown, because if we run Discipline, our weapon swaps happens once every 5 seconds instead of once every 10 seconds. So it's kinda hard to know now. Maybe we will not run Phalanx Strength for the Might and even Vigorous Shout, which makes our shouts heal, but we will not have a lot of shouts on the Spellbreaker. As you can see, only one shout. So maybe this trait will become good, especially because I will tell you what Soldier's Focus is. So periodically gain Soldier's Focus, hitting with a burst skill expands Soldier's Focus to grant might to nearby allies. So we will need to land a burst skill on allies to spend this buff we will get once every 10 seconds, and with this trait we will get it each time we will get a weapon swap on ourselves. Also, maybe we can skip this trait and we can go for Soldier's Comfort. Soldier's Focus heals affected allies and grant them protection. So if we have a lot of Soldier's Focus with the weapon swapping and with the passive trait here, we can apply a lot of protection, which this class cannot really apply a lot, and also a lot of heals because of the healing, as you can see, like 2k.5 without healing modifiers, for example Transference Sigil, Benevolence Sigil and so on. Then also this trait will be changed, and Soldier Focus will also remove one condition from your allies, from the affected allies. So I don't know, maybe we can spam Soldier's Focus in World vs. World to apply a lot of quickness, even if it's getting nerfed on the duration, it's okay, we will get a lot more of Soldier's Focus. So we have 3 stacks of might, some protection from this one, and healing, a lot of healing for it, and also we will get quickness from this one and a condition removal. So maybe the build will get to something like this, I'm not really sure, but the healing will increase a lot, and also the protection, and also the Condi cleanses. Everything depends on the cooldown on this trait, so let's see what happens. Okay, the changes were over for World vs. World. All the changes I didn't mention were not relevant for World vs. World, so please stay calm in the comments if I skipped some changes. I know I already read every changes here. The good changes, I mentioned them in this video. Thank you for watching again, and see you on to the next video, and bye bye.